The market is moving, and it's a busy day in Barcelona. Why? Because Barcelona have, first of all, welcomed 𝐁𝐑𝐄𝐀𝐊𝐈𝐍𝐆. 𝐁�ឋ Cancelo arrived, 3-year contract, everything confirmed. Remember, Cancelo left Al Hilal as a free agent to join Barcelona, so everything official, everything completed. 𝐁�ឋ Cancelo, new Barca player, and Cancelo said, I was ready not to play football this season in order to join Barcelona. I was not going to join any other club. I was not going to play for any other club. Eventually, I was going to stay at Al Hilal, take my salary, but not play any football, only Barcelona. And now he's back to Barca. And then Rodri, while I'm recording this video, Rodri is landing. It's a matter of minutes, and then Rodri will be in Barcelona. The news of the day is regarding the shirt number, because I was telling you in my recent videos, talks are taking place behind the scenes between Rodri and his Spanish national team teammates over the recent days about this Barcelona move. And during these talks, Rodri was suggesting the possibility to get the number 16, not in a negative way. Let me clarify this. Rodri was not telling Fermin Lopez, give me the number 16. Rodri is the most kind guy in football probably, and Rodri in these discussions was offered the possibility to get the number 16 because Fermin Lopez decided to take the number 7 from Ferran Torres. And so this is the cycle: Ferran Torres to PSG, Fermin Lopez number 7, and Rodri number 16. So Barcelona prepare their new signings. Then in terms of signings, guys, busy morning between Italy and clubs from abroad, because Juventus signed 𝐁𝐵, the goalkeeper from Tottenham. Was my story last night when I told you that Dibu Martinez to Juventus is not happening, but Zion Suzuki is still going to Aston Villa, and 𝐁𝐵 is going to be the new goalkeeper for Juventus. Talking about Dibu Martinez, it's important also to mention that Dibu Martinez is not a target for Chelsea. There were some reports that Dibu is not going to Juventus because he's going to Chelsea. Chelsea play down all reports on Dibu Martinez. Chelsea are not working on this deal. Then AC Milan, big signing, because from the Chelsea Galaxy, Blue Co, same ownership as Strasbourg, they signed Diego Moreira. Diego Moreira was wanted by several clubs this summer, including clubs in Germany, clubs in England, but also important to mention, and that's also very important to mention, that the situation for Diego Moreira is going to be very expensive, because there were clubs from Germany, but also clubs from England, several clubs. Also Roma tried in during the World Cup in the summer transfer window around July, but Moreira is going to Milan. He's going to play for Ruben Amorim. The transfer fee will be 50 million euros fix. Add-ons, sell-on clause, expensive deal, and so Milan get Diego Moreira tomorrow in Milano. About Chelsea, also Benoit Badiashile tomorrow in Italy for medical test and contract signing at Napoli. Then, guys, many questions on Liverpool. Guys, I fully expect Liverpool now to enter into action again for Bradley Barcola. Liverpool are prepared to bid again for Bradley Barcola. So far, what happened, rather than an official bid, was the indication from Liverpool to Paris Saint-Germain about a number over the direct talks they had, Liverpool and PSG, in the recent weeks. So they were indicating to Paris Saint-Germain a potential number for the deal for Bradley Barcola. It happened already 10 days ago, and Paris Saint-Germain said this number is far away from what we want, so still distance. But I fully expect in the next days, not today, Liverpool to bid again for Bradley Barcola, to present an official proposal and to continue this direct conversation, Liverpool-PSG, PSG-Liverpool. Don't forget that Barcola was not in the squad last night for Paris Saint-Germain against Lens. Don't forget that Luis Enrique said, I will talk about Barcola at the end of the window. Don't forget that Barcola didn't feature in the UEFA Super Cup and also in the French Super Cup. Nasser Al-Khelaifi was keeping all the doors open, so there is still an expectation for Bradley Barcola to have huge chances to go to Liverpool. Remember that Barcola has an agreement with Liverpool on personal terms, and that Barcola is very attracted by the Liverpool project. So we wait for these steps to follow. Then, guys, it's been a day where you asked me so many questions on another situation, and this is the situation of Bruno Fernandes and Galatasaray. What I can tell you, guys, is that according to my information, Galatasaray called for Bruno Fernandes, but earlier in the transfer window, rather than now. Galatasaray tried around June, July, during the World Cup, when Bruno was busy at the World Cup with Galatasaray. Was busy at the World Cup with Portugal, but Galatasaray tried to understand if there was the condition to bring Bruno Galatasaray, but the understanding is that Manchester United have no intention at all to open any negotiation. Manchester United want to continue with Bruno. Manchester United want Bruno to stay at the club. So my understanding is that now Bruno Fernandes to Galatasaray is not happening. So the understanding is that Bruno is going to stay at Manchester United and be a big part of the project for this season. And let's see what's going to happen also in terms of contract, because there might be also conversations about Bruno's contract. From Turkey today, also links between Marcus Rashford and Turkish clubs. Guys, I'm told again today that for Turkish clubs, the door of Marcus Rashford is closed. Rashford doesn't want to go to Turkey or Saudi at this stage of his career. Rashford is saying Manchester United or a top club from European elite leagues. This is the position. So a Rashford exit to Turkey is seen as very complicated now. Then, should anything change, I will let you know here, as always, as every single day on the channel. Talking about updates, guys, also something behind the scenes regarding Real Madrid. Because in the last 48 hours, Italian clubs called again to understand the situation of Endrick. For example, Roma had Endrick on their shortlist for a long time, and Italian clubs were calling again to understand if maybe there is still a chance to open conversations and to get Endrick on loan. The answer from Real Madrid was very clear. Real Madrid have no intention to entertain proposals for Endrick this summer. So today, once again, Real Madrid were saying no to Italian clubs keen on Endrick on loan. Then, guys, should anything change, I will let you know, but the indication arriving not just to Endrick himself, but also to his agents, is that the president, Florentino Perez, the directors at the club, and the coach, Jose Mourinho, don't want Endrick to leave. So this remains the position as of today. And then let me finish with Pedro Neto and Al Hilal. 2-3 days ago, I told you Al Hilal have genuine interest in Pedro Neto. He's not the only name on the list at Al Hilal. Al Hilal have 2-3 names on the list for the winger position. Pedro Neto is one of them. Then there is also interest from English clubs. Tottenham like Pedro Neto, but only as a backup option. The priorities for Tottenham, I'm telling you every day, Savinho and Gakpo. Gakpo and Savinho. If something doesn't work for them, Pedro Neto is an option, but not a priority. And remember that for Chelsea, Pedro Neto is not a player available on the market. Or a big proposal arrives, Chelsea even mentioned £100 million as valuation, so it has to be a very big proposal, or Chelsea are more than happy to continue with Pedro Neto. So has to be a very big proposal. Al Hilal are interested, but he's not the only one in the list. And then, for sure, the Pedro Neto situation, we will follow that one in the next days to understand what's going to happen. Manchester City like the player. Manchester City are looking for a winger if